This movie aged like fine wine. What's up, everybody? So, since there's been so much news about the new direction that Bond will be going in with director Denis Villeneuve, with the writer Stephen Knight, I figure I'd go back and revisit Daniel Craig's time spent as 007. Now, it starts with, of course, with Casino Royale, directed by Martin Campbell, written by Paul Haggis. Uh, Now, what always I think about, and I've watched Casino Royale so many times. It really is a great Bond, but not really James Bond movie. Uh, I wasn't like everybody else when he was tapped to play James Bond. You know, there was a lot of ridicule. There was a lot of who is this dude who's got blonde hair who's going to be James Bond. I thought that was kind of ridiculous. I just had no idea who he was. Now, the reason why I say that it's not really a Bond movie because it is an origin story. So every time we've seen Bond, it has all the conventions of a normal James Bond movie. He seduces women. He has the car. He has the gadgets. You know, this bigger than life, almost caricature type of villain. And this really didn't have any of that stuff. It really is the beginning of James Bond as 007. I really like the beginning aspect of it. It's shot in black and white, and it's two things. One, he's sitting in an office talking to this guy, and the other one is him fighting some dude in a men's bathroom. And okay, so in order to get the 007 moniker, you have to eliminate two people, which he does. And I really like, when he does, kind of unalive the guy in the bathroom. Well, he thinks he did, but then he, flips around and then, shoots the guy. And it's kind of the typical scene that we've always seen in every single James Bond movie where he's kind of in the crosshairs of a sniper and then he turns around and shoots the guy. So it was a nice little play on that particular trope. I also really liked about this movie, which is one of the reasons why I think it's a excellent date night movie. It has all of the things that make a movie great for everybody. So it has the action and adventure and suspense of a really cool James Bond movie. But it also has a love story that is taken a little bit more seriously, that even has, what I would call romantic comedy type of scenes. You have the scene with Vesper Lind in the train where they have a nice little banter that goes back and forth that people really enjoy. But I also really like, I think my favorite scene between the two of them is when they get to the hotel. He sees the suit that she had tailored for him, and he kind of calls her out on it. And then, the first thing she says to him is like, I sized you up from the moment I saw you. So that's kind of like, he's always used to being in control, but now this woman is also finding ways to kind of subvert that quote unquote control. And it's just, it kind of puts a smile on your face. It's really cool. So it shows this kind of female character that we never really seen in a James Bond movie before, that is kind of matching wits with him, not just being a foil, for the male fantasy of seducing this beautiful woman. I like the quips. They're really not overly done the way they are in, all other James Bond movies. It's two particular moments that I think of. One in particular is when they put a tracker inside his forearm, and just, with a, stone cold look on his face after it's injected into him, just like, ow. As it's always a moment that caught me. It's just, like typical James Bond reaction, just not as overplayed as it usually always is. The second one is where he really almost dies. Le Chiffre, who is the main villain in this case, and it's not a typical villain. I mean, he's not the big head honcho. He's just basically the accountant. And poisons his drink. He takes it down. He's just about to have a heart attack, and then, in the set of circumstances, he ends up not dying, of course, because then we wouldn't have a movie. Vesperlin actually saves him. And then he goes back into the casino, sits down to continue playing cards, facing Le Chiffre, and he just says, "Hill, that last hand nearly killed me." So it's these very witty quips, but they're not caricatured. I feel like they definitely were towards the end of Pierce Brosnan's run as James Bond. And then, of course, you have what I think is just such a satisfying ending because he has yet to say any of the things that James Bond says. He doesn't say Bond, James Bond. He doesn't say vodka martini shaken, not stirred, any of that. And so when you see him standing over the main target that he is going for after everything that happens, and there he is with a nice suit, big gun in his hand, and he's like, the name's Bond, James Bond. And then boom. It really does make you look forward to the subsequent James Bond movies and his run as James Bond. Now, it's hit or miss for the rest of the journey, but we'll talk about that going forward. Anyways, those are my thoughts on Casino Royale. What about you guys? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Smash that like button, give me a follow, and I'll see you guys next time.